Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together and give a wonderful, warm welcome to Gregg Braden.
It's been way too long.
It really has. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Shima. We used to do that years ago, and then we stopped. And thank you for starting again. She said I'm her first for this conference. So, are you as happy to be in this room right now as I am to be in this room right now? I don't know. All right, you know, it's, wow. I want to say welcome to Conscious Life Expo 2020. Can you wrap your brain around 2020? Remember when you were kids and 2020 seemed like, like a lifetime in the future? Remember that? Here's what I remember. Do you all remember 2012, how weird that was? I remember 2012 and people asking me, and a lot of them were some of the radio interviewers that were less than friendly. The radio interviewers, they would say, when is this change everybody's talking about? When's it going to begin? Yeah, well, those interviewers now are asking me, when's it going to stop? You know, and when I'm telling them, I say, man, we have just started. We're just beginning. Can you feel this world? Can you feel? This world's on fire. Can you feel that? I just want to ask you, how many of you feel like there's a really beautiful world emerging? Yeah, I feel that as well. If you did not watch the opinions of people who are paid to give you opinions on mainstream media, you would not think that the world is in such a bad place or any nation is in such a bad place. It's really, really interesting for me. I was, I had a thought coming down the elevator today. I believe this world's going to be here a long time, but if for some reason the world ended like today, wouldn't this conference, wouldn't this be an awesome group of people to start a new world with? I mean, wouldn't it? Think about all of the knowledge and the wisdom and the insights from so many different walks of life, from agriculture and child rearing and family and science and technology and spirituality. Actually, here's what happened. I was just in the back room of the hotel, and the hotel manager came down and gave me a little secret. He said, this isn't really a hotel, it's a pod. It's a ship disguised as a hotel. So if something happens, we have the way to preserve humankind's knowledge, you know, for the, I'm just kidding, okay? So I want to say hello to you, and we are streaming live to planet Earth, so I'm going to say hello to all the people watching on our streaming. Please welcome all of our people streaming. We got a global family out there. Yeah. And right down the hall, behind a secret closed door deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, there, I don't know where that came from. That's on the airwaves. There is a control room run by Gaia, and Gaia is working very, very diligently to record, to share this information, to stream it live, and they've worked behind the scenes to put this whole thing together. So if you haven't already, please help me give them a warm welcome and deep gratitude. Gaia, we love you. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing. You guys are awesome. Yeah, and while I'm talking to Gaia, I'm just going to ask you, don't zoom in too close on my face, okay? It's just, this doesn't work out, so. If you've ever been on camera, you know exactly what I mean, right? What I want to talk to you about is the battle. There is a battle. It's playing out right before our very eyes. You've often heard it said, the best way to hide something is what? Keep it in plain sight. There's a battle playing out right in front of our eyes. There's a battle for your story. There's a battle for your story, for the way that you think about yourself. There's a battle for your thoughts. Have you noticed that? There's a battle for your thoughts. It's playing out in mainstream media. It's playing out all across the mainstream media. I have yet to see anything exempt. It's playing out in the classrooms. There are actually books that are being banned in United States classrooms right now because they tell a story that does not fit the mainstream narrative. But it is a powerful story of hope and possibility. I'm going to share part of that story with you right now. But it goes even beyond that. There's a battle for where you think you came from, what you think your origins are. The new DNA science is overturning 150 years of what you and I have been taught. I'm going to get to that very, very quickly tonight, right here. Because it's not the story. I went to school in the late 1950s, 60s, early 70s. As a scientist, I have to tell you, as a scientist, what I'm going to share with you goes 180 degrees against what I was taught as a scientist. However, it's what the evidence supports. The evidence no longer supports the old story. There's a battle for the way you think, not only how you began, but how the universe began. There's a battle for what you're thinking about climate change right now. You're being told all kinds of stories about climate change. There's a battle for what you're thinking about chemtrails. There's a battle for 5G and what you think about 5G. Is it good or bad or right or wrong? There's a battle playing out for that. There's a battle for what's playing out in the skies, and you're being taught how to think about what's playing out in the skies over your home and over our cities, and who's behind what's playing out in the skies and how long we've known about it. These are 5,000-year-old rock records telling us we are part of a global or a cosmic community that has been around much, much longer than what we're being led to believe. There's a battle for your body. Did you know there's a battle for your body? Have you seen that? There's a battle telling you what you need and what you don't need. There's a battle telling you what to put into your children's body before they even leave the hospital, the moment they're born. The moment they're born. And up until the first 6 months, there's a battle for that. There's a battle about what it is that you need to ease the pain in your life, and it's causing a lot of problems. What you need to be healthy. These are all parts of the battle that are playing out. But there's a bigger battle. There's a bigger battle. So don't get caught in the diversions of those other battles. This is the big battle. It is a battle for your very humanness. What I want to say to you is you and I are such a rare and precious form of life. And there's something so unique about us that has been honored through the ages from this world and from other worlds, and it's being threatened right now by technology. That is the battle. Technology is changing the human story. And I'm not going to say it's right, wrong, good, or bad. I'm going to say we need to be aware of what it is that's happening so that we can make wise choices. Does that make sense if I say it that way? All right, I'm going to give you an example. We now have the technology within just the last 4 years. We have the technology that we can customize a human embryo while it's still in the womb. Now, this is a dangerous thing to do because natural evolutionary processes eliminate the things that don't work for us and they enhance the things that do in the DNA. And when you start designer DNA, designer babies, when you start customizing those, you are preventing those unwanted characteristics from existing. Let me just give you an example. I think most people in this room know what this is, a word processor. You've all seen word processors? I was just with an audience in another country, and they don't have as many computers as we do, and they didn't know what a word processor was, and that's why I put this up, to show them. So what happens to word processors? You can take a word or a phrase or an entire sentence or a paragraph, and you can cut it from one place in the document and paste it into somewhere else. You all done that, right? You know where we're going, right? That concept, are you good with that concept? Okay, that concept is exactly what's happening now with the DNA. This is an actual screen from a DNA editor instead of a word processor. You're looking at a strand of DNA, and you can actually take that DNA and you can select very specific genes, and you can cut and paste those or eliminate them altogether, just like you would a word processor, and you can do it while the living embryo is still in the womb of the mother. You can do that. And I have a beautiful, very rare clip I want to share with you. Now, are you okay with talking about this? You good with this? Yeah. So this is the first documented piece of film where this has actually happened. It's a technology called CRISPR. I know some of you are very familiar with CRISPR technology, CRISPR gene editing. So here it is right here. This is the first real-time CRISPR image. Play it a couple times. This is the DNA right here. And I want you to look when the little white circle comes up, look at what's inside the circle, and then you'll see it disappear. Where is it? Where'd it go? There it is, right there. Okay, now watch what happens. Beginning, okay, it's there, it's there, it's there, it's there, it's there. See it right there, it's there. And now, there it is, it's gone. They just took a piece of genetic information out of a living strand of DNA inside of a living embryo, is what's happening right here. Now, in theory, that could be pretty cool, in theory. But what happened was the theory got out of the bag. And it surprised a lot of people. This man right here, November of 2018, announced in the scientific journals that he had done something that was only thought theoretically possible. That he had actually edited the DNA of an unborn child, and the child now has been born and is the first living birth of DNA-edited children. Here it is right here. There's the first baby right there. And I'll tell you what, the scientific community came down on him like a ton of bricks. And they said, wait a minute, just because we can doesn't mean that we should. And he said, well, wait a minute, we would never learn how to do this unless we were meant to do it. This is the crux of a scientific argument that I've heard throughout my career as a scientist. There's some scientists that say if we were never meant to do these things, we would never learn how to do them. Other scientists say just because we can doesn't mean that we should. But this is now possible right now. So we are now on a path of literally customizing the DNA inside of living, and now more have happened. It's not just this one, it is now happening. But you're not here. How many have heard about this on mainstream? Anybody hear about it in mainstream media? Well, this is a very informed audience. Very informed. We're engineering the way that we connect with one another. This photograph could have been taken on any main street of any city anywhere in the world. How many of you have seen this? People walking together and everyone's in their own world. You know what the studies have shown is that we have the technology to be more connected than we have ever been in the past, and we are more lonely than we've ever been. Think about that. The technology connects us, but we are more alone than we've ever been in our lives. And this is a lot of what's happening, the way that we learn to connect. Now, how many of you have seen this? And you know, you laugh when you see it, but a couple goes out, you know, they're busy, they got 2 careers, they got kids, they get away, you know, mom keeps the kids, and they go out and have a beautiful, nice, romantic dinner. Before dinner's even over, what are they doing? They're checking messages. Now, if both of them are doing it, maybe it's not so much of a problem, but more often than not, you see that. Can you see what's happening? He's checking his messages. She's not too happy about it. And I see this happening in restaurants. And it's not just in English-speaking restaurants or just in America. I see it all over the world. I see this happening. Kids. Kids. And how many of you have kids that are dealing with social technology right now and learning about what that means in their lives? It's changed the way young people actually communicate. We're blurring the connection between human and non-human. You know, robots used to look like that. It used to be pretty easy to see what a robot looked like. Guess what? That's a robot. That's a robot. And if they look that good, they're going to do more than house cleaning, right? Do you agree? They are. It's a whole new industry. It's a whole new industry. There's a whole new industry that's emerging from this, but I want to show you how it threatens our humanness. Because there's a whole new industry emerging from this where these devices are replacing genuine, intimate human contact. And there are societies where people are opting for this because it's easier, it's cleaner, you don't get caught up in the emotional stickiness and the mess of tough relationships. There are societies now where it is legal to marry your AI partner. Now, can you just take a wild guess? Which one is the AI and which one just got married? Look at the look on that guy's face. I love this. He has just married his AI, his dream AI partner. But here's where now it goes one step. You're not being told this on mainstream. So look at this. Not only are people, and this isn't like a one-off. I mean, this is an emerging trend in some societies, and as a result of this, they are choosing AI babies. They're choosing artificial intelligent children because they're easier to care for. They don't have the emotional problems. Now, let me tell you why this is a danger. How many have never heard about this? See, that's why I'm telling you about it. So I'm telling you this, we've got all these other diversions going on. Here's why this is a problem. It's because when we stop using the unique capabilities of humanness, they begin to atrophy. Those abilities, and the countries where those relationships and AI babies are being opted for, their birth rate is declining, and it's a mystery why the women are sterile, why the men are sterile, and the birth rate now has dropped below the mortality rate, so they're losing people faster than they can populate their own countries. And this is all the result of where technology is leading, but we're not hearing much about this. Our natural abilities, you are such a powerfully sensitive being. You've got this internal soft technology that gives you the ability to sense realms that no machine can sense right now anyway, to sense subtle realms of energy, subtle realms of life, to create life. And when we begin to give away those technologies, they atrophy. And you say, well, maybe one generation, no big deal, it's a choice. You either take it or leave it. Look what happened with cell phones. One generation, you could either have a cell phone or not. Next generation, what's happening? Everybody's got one. When it becomes a way of life. So here is where this gets really, really dangerous. You all know who this man is. Elon Musk, and you know, I have a lot of respect for Elon Musk. He's brilliant, he's young, he has a vision, he has the money to explore his vision, and he's pushing the boundaries. He's going to push those boundaries until something pushes back. And he just announced last year, 19, the development of new companies called Neuralink. He is developing, they're already developed, they're now being manufactured. The first chips, there's the chip right there, the computer chip that is designed, now think about this. This is a silicon chip, and you see those little ports on there? Those little ports interface with the little dendrites, the tentacles, if you will, of the human neurons. It is the first direct neuron chip interface. It's implanted into the human brain, and the idea is that with this chip, we now have direct access to your hard drive without any cables. Direct access to your computer's hard drive. Now, I was just in a room full of young people, and I want to tell you what they said. Sweet. Sweet. It's like, man, I can game all day long with my brain. Now, remember why the technology can be a slippery slope? Because when we give our power away to the technology, we begin to atrophy the very capacities that set us apart from all other life. There are neurons in the neocortex of your brain that already do what that chip does, if you know how to access that. They are called mirror neurons. And if you've been with me in long programs, or Joe Dispenza in long programs, or Bruce Lipton in longer programs, we talk all about those mirror neurons. I want to tell you, a mirror neuron doesn't know the difference between experiencing and witnessing what it is that's happening. It will fire as if you are having an experience, even when you're watching someone or something else. Musicians know this. It helps you to learn. I'm a musician when I'm not doing this. It's my plan B. If this whole author gig doesn't work out, I'm going to go back on the road as a musician. But it helps us to learn very, very quickly. You begin with those implants, and you're no longer accessing those parts of your brain. In one generation, it's a choice. The next generation, you begin to lose it. Pretty soon, humankind has lost the precious abilities that give us our uniqueness. Now, I want to say something, and I can say it in this room because you are a very aware audience. I cannot say what I'm about to say to you in other audiences. So what I'm going to say to you is this. I have a lot of friends. I have a group of friends who focus on the abduction phenomenon, UFO abduction phenomenon. It is a global phenomenon. It's been happening for decades. I know you've heard speakers talk about this. One of my friends did a study and said, what is the common theme that runs through all of the abductees? Why are these people having these experiences? And there are all kinds of unique things that are happening, but the dominant theme, the one theme that flowed through everything, ties directly into what you and I are doing here right now. Do we have time? You want to talk about what that theme is? Yeah. The theme is this, is that the beings doing the abducting say that they come from a lineage of life that gave their power away to the technology. They were at the point where we are now, where they had to choose. They chose the technological route. They lost the uniqueness of their biological, their soft technology, and they want it back. And that is one of the reasons that they are so interested in where you and I are right now. But nobody tells you how powerful and beautiful and special you are. Does that make sense if I say that? Can you feel that? I just got goosebumps just from saying that. So this is what's happening. We already have these. There they are right there, these mirror neurons. You use them perhaps without even knowing it. You can develop the way you use them. Anybody know who this is? I know this is an aware audience. Absolutely. This is Sophia. She's the first robot, AI, granted citizenship. She is a citizen of a country. It happened in 2017 in Saudi Arabia. She took the citizenship quiz. She answered every question, and she now is the first of a growing number of citizens. She's an intelligent, I saw her interviewed on Jimmy Fallon. She's very smart, very smart. So the question is this: where do we end and the machines begin? How far do we take this trend? Now, I want to tell you a story. My wife and I live in a rural community in northern New Mexico, north of Taos, New Mexico, if you all know where Taos is. And there's a little market where it's a co-op, Manzanita Co-op, if you know where that is, where we do our grocery shopping. And I was in line not long ago behind another man, and he had a lot of produce, a lot of groceries there, and I was just, kind of looking around, checking out what's going on. It came time for him to check out, and I saw something I had never seen before. He walked up to the scanner, pulled up his sleeve, scanned his wrist, and he walked out with about $230 worth of groceries. And I looked at the cashier. Now, I came up and I looked at the cashier and I said, "What was that?" And the cashier, it was a woman, she goes, "Yeah, that was weird, wasn't it?" It's like, we see weird stuff in here all the time, but that was pretty weird. She told me, she says he has a chip embedded under his skin that links his body to his bank account and his credit cards. And he gets paid for those groceries by scanning his wrist. Now, I'm not saying it's right, wrong, good, or bad, but I'm saying this is where the trends are going. Where do we end and the technology begin? Microsoft and MIT have worked together to create this. It's called DuoSkin, where they are using the resistivity of the body to create electrical current to run other gadgets on the body. So the body is creating the current that runs the gadgets in the body. This is pretty wild stuff. Pretty wild stuff, and it's happening right now. And what I want to say, I just want to be very clear about, I'm not against this. I'm simply inviting us to be aware that this is a trend. It is a powerful trend. It is not in one country or one society. It's sweeping the earth. It's called transhumanism. There is a belief that people can live longer, that they can save their memories, that they can upload their awareness, that they can extend their lifespans through the devices and the machines. And I want to tell you, your body is so powerful. Your body is so sophisticated and has the ability, you already have the ability to do everything in your biology that is done here. I'm just going to tell you a story. I wasn't, but I'm going to, in the interest of time. And it's pulling on me, so I'm just going to go ahead and share it with you. I mentioned I live in New Mexico. I sometimes take groups into an area, Chaco Canyon, New Mexico, an archaeological site. Some of you have been there. When I did a reconnaissance trip in the early 90s, I met a native man who was there. Okay, I'm just going to tell you the whole story. Here's the whole story. Because it all ties in. So some of you know a little bit about, I'm the product of a very dysfunctional, abusive alcoholic family. My father was the abuser. I'm a survivor of childhood trauma. He left our family when I was 10. And my mom and I have a younger brother, we had to figure out how to live in the 1950s and 60s. Pretty tough times for all of us. I was close to my mom. And when I got my first divorce, my mom had never healed from her divorce. And she was angry and didn't talk to me for 2 years. And it was at that 2-year mark where we had a phone call and she wanted to see me. She says, "I miss you." And I said, "Well, I miss you too, Mom." And so I said, I'm doing a recon trip in the Chaco Canyon. Come to New Mexico and go with me. And she said, yes. So Mom and I were hiking Chaco Canyon. And here's the reason this is important. A Native American man crossed us on the path. We were going one way, he was going the other way. And he said the only reason that he stopped and talked to me was because I was with my elder. I was with my mother. And he saw that. He says, in our tribe, that is a sign of deep respect. When the man honors his mother by sharing a journey into sacred land with her, he says, who are you? And so we had this conversation. And it was during the conversation that he shared a story. And the story is about what we're doing right here. He said, a long time ago, the people of the earth, he said, they lived very differently than they live today. They were close to the earth. They remembered who they are. And he said, something happened. And even the old people, the elders, they don't know. Something happened. And the people of the earth got lost. They began to forget who they are. They began to forget who they are. And he said they were lonely. They longed for the connections that they used to have. And they began to build outside of their bodies the things that mirror what they already used to do inside of their bodies. And he said, this is where we are right now. We're building machines, we're building devices outside of our body that mimic what we already have. And he said, we will continue to do that, and we will clutter our lives and clutter the world until we wake up and remember that that technology is us. And then we let it all go. And we become very sophisticated technologically in a much simpler world. Isn't that a beautiful story? Yeah, very, very powerful. And I can thank my mom for, if she wasn't with me, he probably wouldn't have told me that. Yeah. Thank you. So I cannot help when I see these technologies. Is this us reminding ourselves of who we are at the point in history when we're at this very crossroad where everything that is not true is collapsing, and we are asking ourselves, who are we and what path do we choose now? Thank you for the opportunity to be in here today. I love you all.